success of Town Center, many think tanks believe it has borrowed from the success of the existing businesses, and the think tanks call this cannibalism. We're just eating off of our own flesh, so to speak. Others might say, well, that's just competition, that's what happens. But this is government-financed competition, and that's not the American way. Development tool, other people call it a gimmick. It's a way to finance development projects without raising taxes. It is politically popular with city leaders. The money is carved out of the general fund to finance debt service for TIF projects. The general fund must now meet an increase in demand for its services. When you have 24,000 people living in what used to be a grove of trees, there will be an increased demand for police and fire and schools, etc. What does the law say about TIF? Revenues generated by the land and the buildings inside this TIF continue to flow to the general fund. So they make a big point of this, saying nothing has come out of the general fund that was not already there. I'm going to take an aside here and ask you if you remember what the tax rate was in 1999, $1.22. What is it today? It's 89 cents. 27% decrease in the tax rate. On a frozen assessment of $151.9 million, the amount of money flowing into the general fund has not been frozen. It has decreased by 27%. After they do this, after they establish that TIF, the city issues $69 million in bonds. They take the proceeds of the bonds and they poured them into a 33-acre parcel that we call Town Center. It is also called the core. So when you hear the core, that is Town Center. The non-core is everything outside of Town Center. They took the $69 million in public money and they poured it into infrastructure. Parking garages, a pedestrian bridge that joins parking garages, plaza land, and the Westin Hotel Conference Center. Yes, that is a public infrastructure located on the second floor of the Westin Hotel. And I'm going to digress here for a minute. If you go to the website for the Westin Hotel, they advertise this as their meeting space. I've got brochures. It's advertises there. You would never know that this was a public facility. It generates no real estate tax revenue for the city. Let's go back to that frozen assessment. You just stay on. Just stay on that. We froze the assessment in 1999. Every year subsequent to that, the new development that will occur inside the area will generate new real estate tax revenues, and all of those revenues will be collected in what is called a tax increment fund. This tax increment fund will be used to pay off the debt service on the $69 million that we issued in bonds, typically about 20 years. Boundary around the 350-acre parcel, there were a lot of existing businesses and land which they immediately began to take the incremental real estate tax revenue from those businesses, and they began to collect them in the tax increment fund. The debt service is not being paid exclusively with new development. There's the map again. This is a picture that Al Saperstein sent me that gives you a little bit better idea of the amount of property that we're talking about. I did a drive-by just to see if I could give tax revenue, but actually dipping into the hotel taxes. And what I've seen is a figure of up to $750,000. I don't know. The comprehensive plan has targeted Pembroke as a strategic growth area. And because of that, I believe that more TIFs are to come, or they will just keep reliving. They'll just keep expanding and adding another debt issue to continue this project. What it seems to me like, I'm not sure that we're going to have the revenue to pay the debt service. One of the ways that you can add revenue is build a new facility, build a new building. add it to the tax rolls, and then it can add revenue to pay the old debt service. When you start doing that, you're building what's called a Ponzi scheme. That's the way it looks to me. More tips to come. What I really believe, and this is just my conjecture, I believe that all of this is designed to illustrate that we are an urban center with a high population density, and we have to justify the great big whammy, and that is light rail. Is this TIF the right thing to do? I don't think so. To me, it is a major transfer of the wealth of the many taxpayers it's a major transfer of wealth from the many taxpayers to the few developers and special interest groups that benefit.
Let's give Beth